Hey there, SurvivalScope community, Larry here. And today we're diving deep into a crucial topic for any serious prepper food preservation methods for your survival pantry. Whether you're just starting out or looking to expand your prepping skills, this video is packed with essential information to help you build a robust, long-lasting food supply. Before we get started, don't forget to check out the description below for links to some of the products and tools I'll be mentioning in this video. These are items I've personally used and can vouch for, so they're worth considering for your own prepping journey. Be sure to stick around till the end. I have added some bonus tips for your consideration. Now let's get into it. Why food preservation matters for preppers. First off, let's talk about why food preservation is so crucial for preppers. In any emergency situation, whether it's a natural disaster, economic collapse, or any other SHTF scenario, having a reliable food supply can mean the difference between thriving and barely surviving. Food preservation allows us to extend the shelf life of our food supplies, reduce waste and save money, maintain nutritional value over long periods, ensure food safety in challenging conditions, provide variety in our diets during emergencies. With that in mind, let's dive into the various food preservation methods you should consider for your prepper pantry. Method 1. Canning. Canning is a classic food preservation method that's been around for centuries and for good reason. It's reliable, versatile, and when done correctly, can keep food safe and nutritious for years. There are two main types of canning water bath. Canning. This method is suitable for high-acid foods like fruits, jams, and pickles, and pressure canning. This is necessary for low-acid foods like vegetables, meats, and soups. Here's a quick overview of the canning process. Clean and sterilize your jars and lids. Prepare your food according to your recipe. Fill jars, leaving appropriate headspace. Remove air bubbles and wipe jar rims. Apply lids and bands. Process in either a water bath or pressure canner for the appropriate time. Pros of canning: long shelf life, 1 to 5 years or more. Retains nutritional value, no electricity required for storage. Wide variety of foods can be canned. Cons of canning: requires specific equipment and knowledge, can be time-consuming, risk of botulism if not done correctly. Pro tip: always follow tested recipes and processing times to ensure food safety. The National Center for Home Food Preservation is an excellent resource for reliable canning information. Method 2. Dehydrating. Dehydrating is another excellent preservation method that removes moisture from food, making it inhospitable to bacteria and mold. This method is great for fruits, vegetables, herbs, and even meats for jerky. You can dehydrate food using an electric dehydrator, your oven on its lowest setting, sun drying in appropriate climates. The basic process involves washing and preparing your food, slicing it thinly and evenly, arranging on dehydrator trays or baking sheets, drying at a low temperature until moisture is removed. Pros of dehydrating: lightweight and compact storage. Long shelf life, 6 months to several years. Retains most nutrients, no electricity required for storage. Cons of dehydrating: can be time-consuming. Some foods may lose texture or flavor, requires rehydration before use in some cases. Pro tip: for long-term storage, pack dehydrated foods in airtight containers or vacuum-sealed bags with oxygen absorbers. Store in a cool, dark place for best results. Method 3. Freeze drying. Freeze drying is, well, a high-tech preservation method that removes almost all moisture from food while maintaining its structure and nutritional value. While commercial freeze-dried foods are widely available, home freeze dryers have become more accessible in recent years. The freeze drying process involves freezing the food, creating a vacuum around the food, and applying heat to sublimate the ice directly into vapor. Pros of freeze drying: it has an extremely long shelf life of over 25 years, retains up to 97% of nutritional value, maintains food structure and flavor, and is lightweight and compact. Cons of freeze drying: the equipment is expensive, the process can be time-consuming, and it has higher energy costs. Pro tip: if you're not ready to invest in a home freeze dryer, consider purchasing commercially freeze-dried foods to supplement your prepper pantry. They're excellent for long-term storage and emergency situations. Method 4. Freezing. Freezing is one of the simplest preservation methods available to most preppers. While it does require electricity for long-term storage, it's an excellent option for short to medium-term food preservation. To freeze food effectively, choose fresh, high-quality produce or meats, blanch vegetables to preserve color and nutrients, cool foods quickly before freezing, use airtight, freezer-safe containers or bags, remove as much air as possible to prevent freezer burn, and label containers with contents and date. Pros of freezing. It preserves flavor and nutritional value, is quick and easy, and a wide variety of foods can be frozen. Cons of freezing. It requires consistent electricity, has a limited shelf life of 3 to 12 months for most foods, and can alter the texture of some foods. Pro tip: consider investing in a chest freezer for your prepper pantry. It's more energy efficient than an upright freezer and can keep food frozen longer during power outages. Method 5. Pickling. Pickling is a preservation method that uses an acidic solution to prevent the growth of harmful bacteria. While cucumbers are the most common pickled food, you can pickle a wide variety of vegetables and even some fruits. There are two main types of pickling: vinegar pickling, which uses vinegar as the acidic medium, and fermentation pickling, which uses salt to create a brine that promotes beneficial bacteria growth. The basic pickling process involves preparing your vegetables, creating your pickling solution, vinegar or salt brine, packing vegetables into clean jars, pouring hot pickling solution over vegetables, removing air bubbles and sealing jars. Then, process them in a water bath canner for shelf-stable pickles. Pros of pickling. It has a long shelf life of several months to a year, adds variety to your prepper pantry, can improve nutritional value through fermentation, and requires no electricity for storage. Cons of pickling. It has a high sodium content, can alter the texture and flavor of foods, and requires specific equipment for canning. Pro tip: experiment with different spices and herbs in your pickling solution to create unique flavors. Dill, garlic, and peppercorns are classic additions, but don't be afraid to get creative. Method 6. Salting, also known as curing. This is one of the oldest food preservation methods. It works by drawing out moisture from food, creating an environment inhospitable to bacteria. There are two main types of curing: dry curing and wet curing. Dry curing involves rubbing salt directly onto the food. Wet curing, on the other hand, means submerging food in a salt brine solution. The basic dry curing process is pretty straightforward. First, mix salt with any desired herbs or spices. Then, rub the mixture thoroughly over the food. Place it in a cool, dry place to cure. And don't forget to rinse off excess salt before consuming. Now let's talk about the pros of salting. It can preserve food for months to years, adds flavor, requires no electricity, and works well for meats and some vegetables. However, there are also some cons. High sodium content, altered texture and flavor, and the need for specific knowledge and techniques for safe preservation are some of the downsides. Pro tip: when curing meats, always use curing salt, also known as pink salt or Prague powder, rather than regular table salt. This contains nitrites that help prevent botulism in cured meats. Method 7. Smoking. Smoking is another ancient preservation method that not only extends the shelf life of food, but also imparts a delicious flavor. It works by exposing food to smoke from burning or smoldering material, typically wood. There are two main types of smoking: hot smoking and cold smoking. Hot smoking cooks and smokes the food simultaneously, while cold smoking imparts smoke flavor without fully cooking the food. The basic smoking process starts by preparing your food, which often involves brining or curing. Next, set up your smoker with your chosen wood. Maintain proper temperature throughout the smoking process, and smoke for the appropriate time based on your recipe. Pros of smoking include adding unique flavor to foods, preserving food for weeks to months, working well for meats, fish, and some cheeses, and it can be done with minimal equipment. But there are cons as well. It requires specific equipment and knowledge, is a time-consuming process, and may not be suitable for all living situations, like for apartment dwellers. Pro tip: different woods impart different flavors. Experiment with various types like hickory, apple, or mesquite to find your favorite combinations for different foods. Method 8. Fermenting. Fermentation is a preservation method that uses beneficial bacteria to transform food, extending its shelf life and often improving its nutritional value. This method has been used for thousands of years and is experiencing a resurgence in popularity. Common fermented foods include sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurt, kefir, and kombucha. The basic fermentation process involves preparing your vegetables or other ingredients. Create a brine solution for vegetable ferments, submerge ingredients in brine, seal in an airtight container, and allow to ferment at room temperature for several days to weeks. The pros of fermenting are numerous. It increases the nutritional value and digestibility of foods, creates beneficial probiotics, can preserve food for months, and adds variety and unique flavors to your prepper pantry. However, fermenting does have its cons. It requires specific knowledge and techniques, can be unpredictable with varying results, and some people may not enjoy the tangy flavors of fermented foods. Pro tip: start with simple ferments like sauerkraut before moving on to more complex recipes. Always use clean equipment and follow recipes carefully to ensure food safety. Method 9. Oil packing. Oil packing is a preservation method that involves submerging foods in oil to prevent air exposure. This method works particularly well for herbs, vegetables, and some cheeses. The basic oil packing process is as follows. Prepare your food, which often involves drying or partial cooking. Sterilize your jars. Pack the food into jars and cover completely with oil. Then seal and store in a cool, dark place. Now let's talk about the pros of oil packing. It preserves food for several months and infuses food with flavor. Plus, the oil can be used in cooking after the food is consumed. It works especially well for herbs and sun-dried tomatoes. But there are some cons to consider. There's a risk of botulism if not done correctly. It requires refrigeration after opening and is not suitable for all types of food. Pro tip: always use high-quality oils with a long shelf life, such as extra virgin olive oil or a neutral oil like grapeseed. Avoid using vegetable oils, which can go rancid quickly. Method 10. Vacuum sealing. Vacuum sealing is a modern preservation method that removes air from packaging, slowing down the growth of bacteria and preventing freezer burn. It's particularly useful when combined with other preservation methods like freezing or dry storage. The basic vacuum sealing process involves preparing your food by washing, drying, and cutting as needed. Place the food in vacuum seal bags. Use a vacuum sealer to remove air and seal the bag. Label with contents and date and store in the freezer or pantry as appropriate. Now the pros of vacuum sealing. It extends the shelf life of foods, prevents freezer burn, offers compact storage, and can be used for dry goods, liquids, and frozen foods. However, there are some cons. It requires specific equipment, the bags can be expensive, and it's not suitable for all types of food, like soft fruits. Pro tip: for long-term storage of dry goods, add an oxygen absorber to the vacuum-sealed bag for extra protection against spoilage. Combining preservation methods. Now that we've covered these 10 preservation methods, it's important to note that many preppers use a combination of these techniques to create a diverse and resilient food storage system. For example, you can dehydrate fruits and vegetables, then vacuum seal them for longer storage. You can also can high-acid foods and smoke or salt meats. Ferment vegetables and freeze meats. Pickle some vegetables and dehydrate others. By using multiple preservation methods, you can increase the variety in your prepper pantry, take advantage of seasonal produce, create redundancy in your food storage system, and adapt to different storage conditions and energy availability. Food safety considerations. Regardless of which preservation methods you choose, food safety should always be your top priority. Here are some general guidelines to keep in mind. Always start with clean equipment and fresh, high-quality ingredients. Follow tested recipes and procedures for each preservation method. Store preserved foods at appropriate temperatures. Label all preserved foods with contents and date. Regularly inspect your food storage for signs of spoilage. When in doubt, throw it out. Remember, improperly preserved foods can harbor dangerous bacteria like Clostridium botulinum, which causes botulism. It's always better to be safe than sorry when it comes to your food supply. Building your prepper pantry. A balanced approach. As you start building your prepper pantry using these preservation methods, aim for a balanced approach. Consider nutritional variety. Include a mix of proteins, carbohydrates, fruits, and vegetables. Dietary restrictions. Account for any allergies or special dietary needs in your household. Taste preferences. Include foods your family enjoys eating. Cooking methods. Consider how you'll prepare foods in various scenarios, with or without electricity, for example. Storage conditions. Ensure you have appropriate storage space for each preservation method. Rotation schedule. Regularly use and replace your stored foods to maintain freshness. Pro tip. Start small and gradually build your prepper pantry over time. This allows you to learn different preservation methods without becoming overwhelmed and helps spread out the cost of building your food storage. Essential tools for food preservation. To effectively use these preservation methods, you'll need some basic equipment. Here are some essential tools to consider. Canning equipment, water bath canner, pressure canner, canning jars, lids, and bands, jar lifter and canning funnel, dehydrating equipment, food dehydrator or low-temperature oven, fruit leather trays, herb drying racks, freezing equipment, freezer, chest or upright, freezer bags or containers, ice cube trays for herbs in small portions, fermenting equipment, fermentation crocks or jars, airlock lids, weights to keep food submerged, smoking equipment, smoker, electric, charcoal, or wood-fired, wood chips or pellets, meat thermometer, general equipment, kitchen scale, food processor or blender, vacuum sealer, airtight storage containers, labels and markers. Remember, you don't need to buy everything at once. Start with the equipment for one or two methods and expand your toolkit as you gain experience and expand your prepper pantry. There you have it, folks. A comprehensive guide to food preservation methods for your prepper pantry. Remember, building a robust food storage system takes time, patience, and practice. Don't be discouraged if your first attempts aren't perfect. Every attempt is a learning experience that brings you one step closer to becoming a self-sufficient prepper. As you embark on this journey, remember the key points we've discussed. Diverse preservation methods. Utilize a combination of canning, dehydrating, freeze-drying, freezing, pickling, salting, smoking, fermenting, oil packing, and vacuum sealing to create a varied and resilient food supply. Food safety. Prioritize safety by following tested recipes, using clean equipment, and regularly inspecting your stored foods. Always err on the side of caution when it comes to food preservation. Building your pantry. Start small and gradually build your prepper pantry over time. Focus on nutritional variety, dietary preferences, and appropriate storage conditions. Essential tools. Equip yourself with the necessary tools for each preservation method. Invest in quality equipment that will last and make your preservation efforts easier and more effective. Community and resources. Don't hesitate to reach out to fellow preppers or local gardening groups for tips and support. Online resources like the National Center for Home Food Preservation can provide invaluable guidance. I encourage you to take action today. Choose one preservation method to start with. Gather your supplies and begin experimenting. The skills you develop will not only enhance your preparedness, but also empower you to provide for yourself and your loved ones in times of need. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who might benefit from learning about food preservation methods. Don't forget to subscribe to SurvivalScope for more tips on prepping and survival skills. And remember, I provided links to the products and tools mentioned in this video in the description below. Check them out to get started on your food preservation journey. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay prepared, and keep building that prepper pantry.